Axe likes this very much.
Welcome to
Coffee with Toffees.
Five, four, three, two, one.
Let's do this!
Good evening and welcome back to a new episode of Coffee with Toffees, guys. A show that I'm excited to bring to you is going to be a special episode today. It is brought to you by the folks at Razor and, of course, the place guys at Betway.com, the best way to place your real money on esports betting. That said, you can find me at Toffees_Dota2 or here multiple times a week as I bring you the show. And I'm joined tonight by a special guest, a man that probably needs no introduction, but I'll give it for him anyway. And that is Jackie, EternalEnvy Mal. How are you doing tonight?
I just came back from China like 2 days ago. 2 days ago, and I'm really jet lagged. I was actually taking a nap right before this, but I saw Twitch chat, I saw Charlie Yang on it, so I started smiling. It was funny.
Charlie does like to hang out there, so if you need a buddy at any point during the show, I'm sure he'd be more than happy to stop by. That said, let's get into the interview because we don't have a forever show, and I want to get through a lot of topics with you. And I'm gonna start with full disclosure at the start of this, Envy. I know nothing about anime. I have never watched it in my life, so if there are any jokes between Twitch chat and yourself that are anime related, they're going to go right over my head, so I will apologize for that in advance, guys. That said, though, please feel free to talk about it as much as you want, because I know that your fans are fervent about the anime, as are you from what I understand.
Okay, so Charlie just told me to shave. I will shave on stream, alright? Right back.
All right.
Okay, can I get my shaver?
Yeah, sure. So Envy's going to grab his shaver so that he can shave for Charlie on stream, and I'm going to sit here with the Maxnomic chair and the Blue Yeti as we wait for him to return. Also, good point. Jackie has a mic, an expensive mic, so I guess that's for the streaming, or maybe does it imply that he'll be casting in the near future? Yeah, reading the shaver. I blame you for this, Charlie. For those of you who are listening on the podcast and can't see what's happening, Charlie, the manager for EG, has challenged EternalEnvy to shave on camera, which he will be doing as we do our interview. So there we go. So that sound that you're hearing is Envy making sure that he looks classy for the show.
Alright.
I like it.
I think that's good enough.
I like it. All right, so let's talk a little bit before we get into like the heavy duty stuff. I want to get to know a little bit about you. I think that as we start this interview, Envy, and I talked to you at the Summit 3 about this, I think that a lot of folks don't have a good feel for who Jackie is, essentially. I think that we know your vlogs, we know sort of a little bit of the rage that you show on your stream sometimes when you're mad at pubs, but I want to get a little bit of your backstory. So I want to start out by asking some simple questions, like, where are you from?
I am from Toronto, Canada.
Okay, did you grow up there?
Yeah, I was born there. Well, I went to so my parents stowed their way across, good old Asian parents back in the day. And, they didn't have any money, so I actually ended up living in a lot of places. Like I lived in New York for like a year or something. I don't know how long I lived there actually. A few months or a year, or something like that, with my dad's side, grandparents, and I went to China as well. On both in two different places. Once in my mom's side and once in my dad's side, for a few years. And when I came back to Canada, it was actually when I was 5, 6, I think, 4, 5, 6, and I lived with my mom's friend for I don't know, a few years, because my mom had no money and she had to work and stuff. So, yeah.
Okay, so you moved around a lot, but ultimately Toronto's your home base.
Till I was 7, I think.
Okay.
I mean, well, till I was no, even when I was 7, I actually changed a lot of schools, actually, all the way till I was 10, and then when I was 10, everything was Gucci.
Okay, so we'll come back to that, because I want to ask if that affected your view towards video games. But for understanding the baseline, how old are you right now?
I think I'm 24.
All right, well, as long as you think you're 24, that's good. What's your favorite game to play that's not Dota?
Uh, I don't really play any games except DS games or like anime related games. They don't really count though, because like they're like story games.
Right.
So I either finish them or I don't. And for DS games, I play them because I have flights. So I just play on flights.
Okay.
I wouldn't really play any game except anime games if I'm not playing Dota.
So what's your number one DS game? What's the one that always goes in on your big flights?
Well, I change it every flight. But right now I'm playing Dota Survivor, and it's actually so fucking fun.
Awesome. Okay. Let's see. What do you do for fun outside of Dota and anime? So we know you love those two things. What else do you enjoy?
Yeah, about that, like, I don't know, nothing, I think.
Okay. I thought that might be the answer, but I figured it was worth asking. And then here's the final background question. What was the first video game that you remember playing?
When I was like 3 or 4, I don't know what age I was. When I was really young, I played some puzzle stickman game on my what's it called? In Chinese, it's called Kaima. I think it's like I don't know how to explain it. It's like it's kind of like your mom, but not really. It's like someone you just sage your kind of like someone that's like your mother. It doesn't really make sense to explain it in English to me, but yeah, I played there on my her computer. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Her daughter's computer.
Okay, so it was an old computer game, basically.
It's called Godmother. There you go.
Okay. Now, did you...
That makes sense, actually. Oh, whatever.
Well, you said you moved around a lot and changed schools till you were 10. Did you get into gaming before you were 10 or afterwards?
I played a lot of like... Yeah, I played games since like 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I played like some Lego games at New York. Like some Lego kart racing stuff and like some other like... You know, like these math games or whatever, like these school-related games, like where you just do English stuff or like relearn. Then I went to when I came back to Canada, like when I was 5, 6, I played like Street Fighter games or like Super Metroid and stuff like that. Like yeah, I played games a lot actually. I think of it.
Okay. Now, when did you make? So I should first ask, when did you discover Dota? When did you start playing Dota specifically?
I discovered it when I was like probably 13.
Okay.
I played like I never owned Warcraft 2, but my friend had Warcraft 2, so I played there every now and then I would play Warcraft 3. And then at one point, like my mom's friend, son, like I saw him playing Dota, and yeah, I wanted to try it. So yeah, that's when I got into it.
So 11 years.
Like 13 years. It's been on and off though, and
okay.
And I'm not sure how many years I've been playing. Probably like 6, 7 years, I would say.
Okay.
But yeah.
So take me through a little bit of the becoming a pro process. I'm sure when you decided to play Dota the first time, the idea of being a pro Dota player wasn't even on your plate. How did that sort of transition happen to turn you into a professional Dota player?
Yeah, when I first started playing the game, I was like really, I never really thought about becoming the best. I mean, it kind of just naturally comes into you. Like I didn't really lose to anyone, but I never really thought of it like that. And then, so I just play. And I never thought about being a pro. That didn't really exist. Like, even the best players back then in Dota like weren't pros, right? Like there weren't any competitions even. But then, and then I quit the game. I played other stuff, and then at one point I started getting really into StarCraft 1 scene, and I had a lot of respect for particularly Jalon. So. Yeah, it took a few years, and I watched StarCraft 2 as well, and still some StarCraft 1. And at one point, I was like, all right, fuck it. Like, I like what they're doing, guys. I want to be like them, so I picked up competitive Dota.
Nice. And then when you started competitive Dota, you what was the first competitive, like officially competitive team? Not like sort of your amateur, getting to know the competitive side of things, but your first competitive team that you were on.
I think it might be bottom actually. I think that was actually the first team I joined since Dota 2. But I only joined for like a week or two before I got kicked.
Okay.
I was so fucking bad. I should have actually unreal.
A bit of a rough start.
Yeah, but like Snaking, like had a lot of faith in me because actually now that I think about it, I played Han competitively.
Okay.
It was kind of for fun. Like I never expected to go far because I knew that I had to quit for university. Like I knew that in university I wouldn't play any games. So right before university, I played Han for those, and I got really like high ranked in the ladder. I got like rank 2, rank 1, and then I played on a team called Deal with It that later became Complexity.
Okay.
And I did pretty well in Han, but Han was so small back then, so it didn't really matter, I guess.
Okay. So you brought up university, and I heard, and I don't know this for sure, that you left university to play Dota. Do you ever? Is that true? And if it is, do you ever regret that decision?
True. No, I don't regret it at all.
Awesome.
Not one bit, actually.
So, on that context, how did your family feel about that? Were they supportive when you told them, I'm leaving university to play Dota?
Yeah, they were, because I never really confronted them, like, slowly about it. It was just, like, at one point I was like, yo, I'm quitting. Like, I'm gonna do Dota. But, like, it wasn't like a tantrum or, like, kind of, like, talk. Like, I had it all planned out. Like, I basically, like, told him, like in a very serious manner that I'm doing this, for sure. And then my mom, like, reacted extremely... They both of them reacted extremely negatively. My mom, like, she just, like, started crying, so I started saying, like, random stuff, like, you know, I'm gonna kick you out of the house, and blah, blah, blah. You gotta be a hobo, and shit like that. But then, like, my dad didn't say anything, because he knew he couldn't convince me. Like, he just saw, like, the way I was talking, like, there was no way you can actually say anything. So, he didn't say anything. And he wasn't really supportive or anything like that, but it was more like, he knew I was gonna do it anyway, so... And then, yeah, they didn't kick me out of the house, so...
Okay. Have they changed their minds since then?
Yeah, definitely. Like, once the
money showed up?
Yeah, once the money, you know, the money.
What about your friends at school? What did they say when you said, I'm not coming back next semester?
I mean, I don't really have any friends. like, I don't know. I didn't really consider too many people my friends. But like, for a few of them, like, it's like I think only like 2 people like thought I could actually do it, and then most people thought I was just like I was just being retarded. I was like,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, they expected me to come back in like a year or something, like back to school, and they knew like it was kind of stupid to do it, but it wouldn't really fuck me. Like at worst, I'll just come back a year later, and it's like kind of whatever. So
yeah, I mean, you gotta take those risks. I understand completely. Let's so that's sort of how we got to Pro Dota. We talked about pot and bottom, and I want to talk about.
But back up to bottom though, because I didn't finish the story. But snaking, like. Back when I played Juan, I was like pretty much one of the best players in NA, like, if not the best mid player. So Snaking was like this little kid who he was a lot younger than me. I think a few years younger than me, and then back then I was pretty young as well. So Snaking has like a really shitty attitude, and this is the way he is extremely annoying. So back then, like, no one really had respect for him, but I thought he was like learning really fast, and I had respect for Snaking. So yeah, so when we played Han, he thought. I mean, when I started playing Dota, he thought like he really liked my attitude towards Han and like how fast I was growing in Han, because I barely played for that many months, but I was like climbing the ladder like crazy and stuff like that. And he thought I was like pretty smart as well or stuff. So he wanted to try playing with me, but like I was fucking so bad. Like, there's no way I can actually join bottom like right from the get go, because that team was actually so godly back then. It's too bad they never got an invite to the qualifier. I actually felt like they could have won TI.
So you don't think that they made the wrong choice getting rid of you? You think that you
no, they made the right choice for sure.
Okay.
That team.
So let's talk about a little bit later, and we'll jump fast forward in time to some a little more of a relevant history that I think sets us in the road to the conversation about TI. And that is a 2012 October. There's a big announcement about a team that a lot of folks knew called No Tidehunter that was sort of resurrected with you as part of the roster. What was your time like on the team? Because you were on the team for, I think, almost a year that you played with those guys. What was your
No, that's not what happened.
Well, before we get to the departure, let's talk about when you played with them. How was the time on the team?
Wait, are you talking about when a big roster change, as in like when I got kicked, or are you talking about when a roster actually got announced?
When the roster got announced and you guys actually got to play together.
I don't think a roster ever got announced. Like I don't think our roster was a big deal.
Okay.
Like Dota and Aki were kind of dead. Like they're both like big time players, but like back then, like I mean Dota wasn't as big as now, and they weren't really like, I mean no one really had too much expectations for those two players.
Okay. Back
then, so there wasn't any hype between that. And then for S4 and me and Amber, like we were both like all 3 of us are no names. So I don't think there was too much hype, honestly. But we did, like me, Kizzles. As you know, Kizzles couldn't play because of some stupid ESWC rules.
Okay.
But me, S4, basically we won the tournament. We were missing Kizzles. We had Black back then, and instead of using Kizzles, we used Quicks for ESWC, and then we won that tournament. So that was pretty. That was pretty sweet. Navi wasn't in it though, and Navi got second place at TI, so that was yeah. Then we played DreamHack, and then I mean it was after winning it that the hype began. But then shortly after winning DreamHack, we fell. Like we weren't the best anymore. Like we were just like one of the top teams. But
so you had a good. You had like a relatively unknown start. It went well. You got some wins. Things fell off, and then in 2013 we see sort of. I feel like it was fairly publicized, your removal from No Tidehunter, the big change that made that team into, Alliance.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to... So you released 2 statements at the time that happened. You actually published them, I believe, on your stream. And I'm going to read the statement from Loda because I think that's the most charged one, and I want to read it out, and then I want to hear sort of what you respond to that now, because I know it was a tough thing to hear back then. I want to see if it still is that way. So Loda's statement, for those of you guys who are watching the show, who may be new to the scene, this was a while back ago, so I'm going to bring you guys to what happened. What I know is that EternalEnvy gave us a quote from Loda, and he said... Lotus said, I spoke to everyone, and I did have a long talk about it, and we decided that we believe more in an all-Swedish team, and that has to do with language, but also with synergy. You've done a lot for this team, and sure, you have invested a lot, but so has everyone else. Thanks for everything you've done, and for helping us grow as players, and I know for sure that you will find a new team. You are the best at what you do, and I think we have helped you grow as a player as well. Now you can do anything, and a lot of players will play with you. The reason for us is the nationality issue. Can you walk me through that moment? What was it like during that conversation with Loda?
It was very sad because I didn't feel like I was given a good enough opportunity. Like I mean I was given the time, but I mean back then my feelings towards the game were very different to my feelings towards the game now. Like, cause I was pretty ridiculous back then in the way I thought about the people and how teams should behave and everything. Like it was way too anime oriented, I guess. Like not anime oriented. It's more like what's it called? Like way too. It's not even optimistic. That's not the right term. But I expected a lot from people. Like how teams should behave and like how. And it's way too ridiculous. There's actually no way I was correct in any of my viewpoints. Like I expected that if I was like being cancerous or playing bad or anything like that, I expect my teammates to be able to confront me on these matters. But this is actually super hard to confront people on these things. So even though I still believe that S4 should have talked to me more about this because he was actually my friend, he really didn't. So I'm still mad at him for that. I forgot about it, but I was mad at him back then for it. And it's still to this day, I believe that he should have talked to me because I actually played with S4 for quite a while, and I started a team with him, and he actually left his team to play with me. So like I thought we had something going, and we did for some time, but S4 like he was kind of new to the scene as well, and it's just the whole like letting Loda take control of things and stuff like that. It's like now I can see why why these things have happened, but back then I wasn't very accepting of how things were handled. Okay. I never blamed them for kicking me, as in like their decision. That was never. They want TI, like what the fuck. But it was more about the way they did it, and I don't really blame Loda or Aki or even to some extent Boda because I don't really know those guys as well as I did S4. So I specifically said that I blame S4 mostly because how he didn't really confront me for my mistake. Nowadays, when I look at, I'm not even answering your question right now. So, but looking at the way like Loda phrased his answer, that shit's bullshit. I don't to me I still to this day think it's bullshit. Like to some extent it's true about the nationality, blah blah blah, but like it's not the main reason to why they kicked me is just because I was sucking ass and because I didn't really have a good attitude. Like not attitude as in like I wasn't like trying my best to play or stuff like that. Just like I was kind of panicky back then.
So let me ask you this: if the discussion had changed and Loda had come to you and said, you know, Envy, you're just not playing up to your potential. We're going to get someone else because we don't think that you're playing well enough. Do you think that that would have been easier to take than the nationality excuse that he gave you?
That would be kind of true, but it's not exactly. No, it wouldn't be easier to take. Like for me, I don't really care too much about dealing with Loda back then as much as I did with S4. I felt like S4 should have helped me in a sense, and and I'll stick by that. I mean honestly, like me and Loda is like kind of whatever. But okay, getting back to what I was saying, like it is bullshit. Like not bullshit as in like what happened, but bullshit as in like what he said. He's just trying to make things, you know, look like feel better for me,
right,
and stuff like that. But I'm not really a person that like, you know, reads like flowery language and goes, oh no, oh I see. Like I knew what was happening, so, and I knew what he like the stuff that he wasn't like the stuff that he didn't say. So I was like, but I mean whatever. The statement, like it's kind of whatever. I understand why he would write it like that.
right.
But like also looking back now, I think the main reason to why I was playing bad was actually because I had a vitamin D deficiency, and because I don't really if there's no school, like, I don't really walk outside and stuff. So I'm actually just home all day, and I don't drink any milk because I'm fat. So yeah, I think like because I played bad 2 years in a row during the winter time. Like the next year I actually had the same problem. Like I was playing super bad during winter again. I was like, what's happening? Because I would win a tournament,
right.
I would win MOG, then I would just start sucking, and I'm just like, what's happening? And now I believe it's because of vitamin D deficiency.
So is it safe to assume that you'll use some of the TI money from the next TI to build like a sunlight in the room where you play or something like that?
I just walk outside now. Dude.
Okay, just walk outside. So I do want to bring up something real quick before we move on from this topic, and it was the statement that Ake put out. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he did say in the statement that he put in a really good word for you, and that he was forced into a choice between Loda and yourself, and that was a tough decision for him to make, and he felt like it made it tough on his conscience, but he had to go with Loda. Do you and Ake still have a relationship, or not really?
No, I mean we never really had
Okay.
like some sort of friendship. Like I said before, like the only person I consider a friend back then was S4. It's not like I knew Aki for too many months, you know.
Right.
When it comes to Aki, like he did actually put up a good word for me. But like I don't know, I respect like Aki's a nice guy.
Okay.
But honestly, I don't really. I personally don't respect the way he handled the situation either. I think the kicking me is fine, and I think kicking me to win is fine. I don't really believe in like I look up to competition. I don't really believe in this like, oh, you know, we're gonna stay as friends. You know, we don't play to win. Like fuck it, you know, like we're just gonna grow together and like stay with the same roster and try to win TRs. I mean, that's complete bullshit. That's what you're saying when you're too scared to make decisions for your team and too scared to change for the better. So like even though Akira was being nice to me, I didn't really like the way he was handling things either, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move past that situation and let's talk. And you talked a little bit about what your expectations were for players at that time. And I do want to bring up a post you made on the North American Dota forums, any Dota forums, a couple of weeks after the Tidehunter incident. And you wanted to put together your own team, and you had rules for the team that you were going to put together. So I want to go over those rules, and then I want you to tell me if you still believe in them, and how close C9 actually looks to those rules that you set out back then. So your number one rule was nearly full-time schedule. Players must be free 5 days a week to scrim during European times, and also for officials that go by European times as well. Do you still think that's a necessity for every player?
No, it's not a necessity, but it's pretty good.
Okay.
You'll want that.
You'll want that. Number two, you must want it badly. I don't want players to just want to win some small tourney and then think of quitting, or anyone who wants to join just to pass the time. What we need are players that dream of achieving something big and want it badly enough to do anything it takes. Someone who isn't just forced to practice but wants to. Those nerds that smile when they figure out some neat ward or trick that can help improve their game. That was a must-have for your team. Do you think that's still a must-have for a pro player?
I want it to be, but it's not. It's there are some fucking scary players that are pretty lazy, so it's not something I can claim
Okay.
as true. But it will be nice.
So on the dream
It's
team,
ideal.
on a dream team that still exists, but it's not necessarily the reality.
I mean, you have Samael who goes to school, so that guy's a top player, and then there are some like old school Dota players that don't really give a fuck about a lot of things. They just listen to their captain and they're fine. So
Fair. All right. Number 3 was roles. This has to do with point 2 as well. What we need are players willing to do anything, willing to learn any role or make any sacrifice to have the team succeed. We don't need players to disrespect other roles or refuse to play support. I am not claiming that the players we are looking for are supports, but changes in the roster, changes in general might happen and roles may switch around. And this is a statement, a good Dota player can play any role or at the very least learn every role. I personally think I can coach anyone on every role for at least the laning phase. Do you think that's? Do you still believe that you could coach anybody to play any role during the laning phase?
No, I don't think so. Actually, laning phase probably I can do it, but like I don't think I can coach every role anymore.
Okay.
I think the game's evolved to a point where things have actually been super specialized, and I don't even know if I still believe every Dota player can play every role, but it's actually way harder than it first was.
Okay. So do you think that every Dota can play every role? Do you think that it's
In time though.
Do you think it's logical though to ask players to be able to switch roles nowadays in the modern Dota game?
I'm not sure. Like I think it's still fine, but I haven't seen enough top players change roles enough for. There's not enough proof basically for me to actually say that statement.
Okay. Rule number 4 was attitude. Players must be able to speak up for themselves when necessary. Not only am I talking about Dota players, but player problems as well. If you straight up dislike someone on the team, then tell them and fix it. Do you think that's something that's, as you've grown and played with so many teams, do you think that's a necessity, or is that something that's even possible to have on a team?
I don't think that's possible necessarily to have, but it's really nice, and it's something that I still stand by strongly about, and I try to what happens is usually like people are unable to talk to each other about certain things, and then I would be the one that talks to both of those players, and then I would try to convince them to talk to each other, and if they can't, then I will talk to them myself. But it's not easy, and usually it might even be impossible to some extent, because you might need another person to do it for you, because those two players don't respect each other enough to see each other's viewpoints, or they're just like too used to arguing with each other, or too used to like just having some sort of thing that they've gotten used to that makes it very hard to them to communicate to each other in that manner. So you might need a mediator regardless.
Okay. And the last thing you said is you said everybody needs to be able to play on European servers, which I think is logical. But you said at the end of that you would one-on-one anyone on the European server as part of a tryout. Did you do a lot of one-on-ones through that couple of weeks?
Yeah, it was kind of disappointing. Yeah, never mind. Like,
was there anybody specifically who disappointed you in the 1 versus 1 that maybe had a big turnaround in the last 2 years?
I don't really want to talk about it.
Fair enough.
No, that's kind of mean. But it was kind of just it was the 1-on-1 was such a test server thing, kind of like, because like there's some US West players wanted to play, and I'll 1-on-1 them right on the Europe server, and I'll be like, yeah, this is unplayable. There's no way you can actually play competitive Dota like this. Like, it wasn't really to test the 1-on-1 skill too much. And honestly, back then, I thought any Dota was like, I didn't really think of it as a public forum, per se, because a lot of the top NA players hanged out on the forum. And to this day, like, I think the average skill in any Dota is like by far better than the average skill in any other forum. It's not even close. But I was still wrong. Like any Dota is still a public forum, so like it was actually absolutely stupid for me to even ask in that forum.
Okay, so that did not go well.
No, I did not.
Do you,
I mean, whatever. It didn't really go bad either. Like,
no, I mean,
I didn't really trial anyone. Like,
right.
I only trialed people that I knew anyway.
Gotcha.
It just to put it out there. It's not like I fucking tested every single person to post it on the forum. That's insane. Like, so I only tested players I already knew. After
that sort of went down, you ended up joining a team. I think it's pronounced. Is it Kaipi?
Yeah, Kaipi.
So you joined Kaipi's lineup, and then we'll skip sort of the initial lineup because I want to talk about. You invited Arteezy to join Kaipi's lineup, and Your statement when he came on board was, "I've been good friends with Arteezy for almost a year now. He's very young, but one of the rising hopes for NA Dota. You guys will see what he can truly do." So you had a relationship with him. You saw potential in him. Does that relationship still exist today?
What do you mean?
Are you guys still close? Do you play together a lot?
Yeah, he's probably my closest person in Dota. Like, just pure Dota, really.
Okay, so he's your closest Dota friend, even though he says that you've changed. Do you believe that you gave him his shot?
What do you mean? I mean, of course I did.
Okay, so do you take credit for? Bulba says you discovered S4 and he discovered Arteezy.
I mean, that's bullshit. I discovered both of them. Like, I knew Arteezy way before Bulba did. Like, but it's who cares? This is so irrelevant to life. I actually don't even know why. Like, the reason to why like Bulba discovered Arteezy is because he said he discovered Arteezy. I never said that because I don't give a fuck until he actually said that later, and I was like, "You're actually so stupid. Like, how do you say that?" Like, I actually knew Arteezy, like, because Arteezy played with Bulba in this Ix Mike League. C9DL.
Okay.
And so did I. But I played with Arteezy way longer than Bulba there, and then I played with Arteezy one-on-ones. You know, I talked to him a lot more, and then at one point, I even remember like Arteezy telling me like, "Oh, I'm gonna one-on-one Bulba soon." Like, I like he was nervous because Bulba was probably the top, considered one of the best NA mid players back then. That he was on EG, and then he was on one of the top NA teams. So he was pretty good one-on-one back then, Bulba. So Arteezy was telling me this stuff. So I basically knew Arteezy way before Bulba.
Okay.
So Bulba's actually so stupid.
So one could maybe say that you created Secret. So whenever you, it
doesn't matter.
When you guys lose a Secret, do you ever stop and think to yourself, "Man, I wish I had never spoken to Arteezy in S4"?
No, they would have got there at one point.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not, nothing will stop them. They're very motivated people who are good at the game and very smart. So no one's gonna stop them.
Sounds good. All right, guys, so here's the plan. We need to take a quick commercial break for the sponsors. We'll be back in about 30 seconds. And when we come back, we are going to talk about some TI stuff. EE, we're going to talk about your blogs. And then we're going to cover some viewer questions. I put up some posts on forums to see what viewers really wanted to hear from Jackie. So we're going to cover those when we get back. And I'm also going to get, EternalEnvy. And I'm also going to give you a chance to address some of the hate that often shows up in places like Twitch chat. So stick around. We'll be back in about 30 seconds.
Razer Comms is a free all-in-one communication tool that allows you to stay in touch with friends both in and out of the game. With features such as friendless, groups, mobile SMS forwarding, and call notifications, Razer Comms is a communication solution for the dedicated gamer. Razer Comms' minimal in-game overlay has a panel that grabs all your messages and lets you see who is speaking in a voice call without interrupting your game.
Now I'll always know who's breathing into the mic.
It's always me.
By pairing Razer Comms Mobile with your PC, your friends can call you, no matter where you are.
All right, and we are back with EternalEnvy here, and we're going to talk a little more about TI and the Cloud9, the current Cloud9 roster. And I got a lot of questions about this stuff I saw on Reddit and other places, so let's jump right into it. First, a question that kept popping up over and over again, Envy, and I got to admit, I ask it myself, is why is Bone7 drafting instead of you now?
I'm shit. Well, it's... I actually don't feel like... I mean... Like, PBD thinks differently, but I feel like Arteezy's been slowly convinced that I don't think EG's ever outpicked us, like, except WEC maybe, like, throughout the entire tournament, back after, like, right after TI, like, on the previous Wapadai and AUI. I think in that patch, I wouldn't say I was, like, a really good drafter, but I was good enough. I didn't feel like we ever lost any tournament because of outdrafts, and I still think that's true. But, back then, that was a carry patch.
Okay.
I could pick Terrorblade, I could pick Naga, I could pick whatever, like, I would pick Anti-Mage or whatever. Like, I could pick a carry, basically. And the game will go late game. Every game.
Yep.
Like, that was a late game patch, too. There was a comeback mechanic and everything. And I, back then, had a very strong belief that I was extremely good late game. And, like, all my drafts were basically just to survive so I can get to the late game. Or the mid game. And... so it was very much easier for me to draft back then, but now with this patch, I feel like I've been slowly understanding to the point where I'm like, yo, this is actually so hard for me to draft. I don't understand what's happening. I don't get it. And what's really happening is like, I'm playing this carry role. I'm stuck in my lane. I can't move. Like my hero doesn't move.
Right.
I just stand there all day, fucking hitting enemy hero, hitting creeps, or standing behind my tower because I guess they're traveling and I can't do shit. And while I'm sitting there, I'm thinking to myself, like, what the fuck is happening? And I don't know what's happening. I don't know how my bounty hunter is hitting their Chen, and like what my bounty hunter needs to destroy their Chen, or what my Chen needs to destroy mid, or how like what supports I need to rotate mid and beat their supports, and like what my offlaner needs, and like just basically how to hit like in the early game. And right now it's like I don't think it's easy at all. I don't think it's way too hard for to carry the draft. So that's one reason. And secondly, I hate drafting.
Really?
I always hated drafting. I've never wanted to draft ever. Like when I first joined Kaipi, like Tidehunter was drafting, but at one point like I realized like I kind of have to draft, so I did drafting. Then Pi drafted again. Then I was like, all right, it's not working again, so I had to draft again. And when the new roster of Fata and stuff, like when Sing Sing got replaced by Fata, like Fata was actually originally the drafter.
Okay.
He was drafting scrims. He even drafted our first official game, but then it didn't work out, and then I started drafting again. But I've always really wanted someone else to draft. When No-Tail first joined the team and Misery, No-Tail was actually drafting too.
Interesting.
But then it also didn't work out, and like Fata always strongly believed that I should be drafting. So I went back to drafting. Like drafting is too annoying. Like it's so like you actually have so much responsibility and it takes so much time to learn drafting, and it's I don't really want the responsibility to like I don't know. It's kind of nice, like you gotta choose your path, like whether you win or not. Basically, this draft is so fucking important, but I don't really want that responsibility. I never thought that I was good at drafting.
Okay.
I never thought I was good enough, so I've always wanted someone else to draft. It just never worked out that way because of personality and stuff like that.
So do you feel like the Bone 7 change is going to be, for the time being, is a permanent change? You're not just taking a break?
So.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I think he's godly. I think he's so good, actually, at drafting. Well, we'll see. Like, for this patch, I think he's really good, and I strongly believe in Bone as a player. I've always believed in Bone as a player. I basically only stay on this team as a Bone. Like, that's it. After TI.
Okay. So let me transition a little bit to keep talking about C9, and I don't want to know which roster was better. I think that's an unfair question to even consider. But what I do want to know is, how does the new C9, the current roster, differ from the team that had Aoi or PLD on it?
I think the individual skill on this team is better.
Okay.
I think the spellcasting is better. I don't know. I think it's way less emo, I guess, with No-Tail and Misery on the team. But some things that do occur is like some really big problems that do occur is I don't really have particularly AUI to back me up in the late game,
right.
And I'm actually starting to struggle with that. I think AUI fought about the late game like kind of like I did.
Okay.
But more importantly, he had faith in my late game, like a lot of faith in my late game. So what happens is sometimes like things will get hectic. And we don't know what the fuck's happening anymore. And sometimes I will be like, yo, like, listen to me. Yeah, you guys actually just didn't listen to me. That's it. Just listen to me. And, like, people have strong heads on his team. So sometimes, like, people will voice their opinions. And back then, there were many, many games where AI would just be like, shut up, listen to Envy. Just listen to Envy. It's past 40 minutes. Just listen to Envy. That's it. That's all you need to do. And right now, I haven't heard a single person do that for me in a while. Even though Bone... after games we lose or win, like Bone will be like, guys, you guys actually just need to listen to Envy. But he doesn't say that in game. I don't really have that in game for me.
Okay.
Anymore. And I mean, but I'm not talking about a player specifically, but back then the atmosphere was very emo in a lot of situations. People got sick a lot. I feel like people were kind of, stuck on a second place phase and like a lot of other issues that we've basically been a team for too long, and things got really familiar. Like we were familiar with basically losing, even and people got kind of complacent with their place in Dota, and so like something definitely needed to change. Like whether the change would be better or worse, it didn't matter because something actually needed to change, or just like even if it gets, I'd rather take a risk and have it get worse than have it stay like that forever.
Okay. So let me, along those lines, I will say this. Something that I noticed at the summit, and I've actually heard from other people before, is that Cloud9 has a very independent attitude compared to a lot of other teams. And I saw some of that in like teams like Secret, for instance, or the Chinese teams. And they had maybe a language issue. Secret's a better example.
It's
Or
possible
EG.
for me to continue the question before we move on, because I actually don't think it's fair. Like, I think that question is way too complicated. I do want to talk a little more about it before we move on. So, because I only talked about my laking perspective, and that's it. I think the hero pool on this team is much larger than before, and like the amount of games like No Tail plays is actually insane. He plays so much Dota, and but I would say I'm happy with the change, like regardless of what happens.
So no regrets about kicking.
No
kicking
regrets. Definitely no regrets. Like I don't really like him winning like DC or stuff like that. Like it's good for him, but I don't really hold these sort of grudges in Dota. And regardless of whether he actually is the better player or whatever, like that's something that kind of changes. Like his attitude probably changed after he joined EG and stuff like that. And it's not something you can just say, oh, I wish he had the attitude back in Cloud9 or whatever. And I don't really think that way either. Like I don't have any of these thoughts. Yeah, I mean, there's other stuff too, but actually, I'm not gonna talk about it anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
So back to the independent comment that they make, and it was teams like Secret and EG tended to travel together, stay together, never really separate. I noticed at Cloud9, you guys sort of went to the house when you felt like it. You sort of practiced separately when you felt like it. The players seem to have more of an independent mentality. Do you think that that's a true statement? That you guys are a little more independent?
Wait, where are you getting this from? I'm confused.
Well, for instance, I think I was at Summit 3, and I would see maybe two Cloud9 players come over and do the practice rooms, and someone else go to the LAN cafe, and you guys seem to kind of work on your own skills individually and then come together when it was time. Do you feel like you guys are more independent than other teams?
We definitely are. I think it's fine. I think it's good. I think Secret is also independent. Okay. But it's more about specific players than anything. Like if being bone or jet lagged and we wake up at 7, like some people like they stay in bed for like a few hours even though they can't really sleep, and they just want to just stay there, and that's fine. That's what they want to do. But like I'm not gonna wait for them, before I go to the LAN center. Like me and Bone always go early. It used to only be me, but nowadays Bone goes early with me as well. Or he goes earlier than me. And then a team like Secret or TZ goes really early, sometimes super freaking early, and he plays a lot. So like, and there's no way these players should stay and wait for their team to get up and go with them. So that's why. The second reason is because Cloud9, I believe strongly in having single rooms. I think it's like detrimental to have another player room of you, because of sleep issues and stuff like that. Because every hour of sleep matters, and things can get fucked. And stuff like that, and like even though it costs more money, and I pay for some of it myself, I think it's like worth it. I mean, it's not even about being worth it or not. It's just I think it helps, so I will do it. And so since we're single rooms, like we're not grouped up, At the very least, EG will go in pairs, but because we're single rooms, like we can go individually. It's different.
Okay. Yeah. So let's move forward to TI, because I want to make sure that we get through some of this stuff. TI, and this was a big question a lot of folks wanted to know, for you personally, what is an acceptable finish for you guys at TI?
It's not really, like, I don't know, I can't really answer that question.
Okay.
Like what I accept will change based on how I feel about the, like so for example, I can be playing the grand finals and I could do something extremely regrettable, and then all of a sudden, like even getting second place is no longer like something that I would accept. Or maybe I would try my best. I did everything I could, and then my team did everything they kind of could, and we lose, and maybe something happens and we lose against the best team, and we get 4th place, 5th place, or whatever. Like then it might be less regrettable. Like the way Navi lost the finals at TI3. Like I'm sure even the getting second place there, they would feel extremely regrettable. But for the most part, like right now, we'll just say getting 1st place. That's it.
Okay, I like that. How are you guys, or share what you're comfortable with sharing in this section, but how are you guys preparing for TI? Are we getting team houses? Are you scrimming? Do you have a plan in place yet?
we plan on boot camping after ESL in the US. I'm not sure where, and I'm not sure when, how early we're going. It really depends on other teams, so we actually need to talk to other teams as well. Because we don't want to go to the US, but everyone else stays in Europe, and then we're like, all right. And everyone stays in China too, and then we go there and like we just play EG all day. Like that's not reliable and it's not good, I think. So it really depends when other teams are going. Yeah, boot camps have been known. I mean, people feel differently about boot camps, but except for Chinese boot camps, like boot camps are shit. Like in general, they are just bad for players. Except like Russian, like basically because everyone lives in different places. Like even if you live in the U.S. or everyone lives in the U.S., like it's still different. It's like U.S. is huge, and when people come together and they're not used to your food, they're not used to a lot of things, and things get stressful. Like all of a sudden you're rooming with someone and stuff like that. Like it's not good. I wouldn't want to do what DK does, and they go to TI and then they stress out like crazy, and then like Latam goes to the hospital because he was stressing out too much and like stuff like that. That's not good.
Okay. Now I heard a rumor that Secret has a no scrim policy. Is that true? And do you think that that's a good choice for teams?
We kind of did that too for MDL to some extent. I think it can be good, it can be bad. Personally, I always feel like you should be scrimming, but it can get really obnoxious sometimes. It's like you play these scrims and there's some things you can't really show. Yeah. I mean, it really depends on which team you're playing against. These teams can copy your strat and then show to someone else. You know, like maybe you have no officials. You know, we generally don't have too many officials, and then they have officials. So we play against them. They lose the scrim, and then they take our strat. They use all 5 heroes, and they win their official. You know, so it's extremely obnoxious, and then, like other stuff like that. So it's not really necessary either, honestly.
Okay, and then let me ask you. As far as TI is, because I know that you have some strong opinions about tournaments in general, how do you think this is going to be the biggest prize pool in esports history? We look like we're not going to only make 15 million. It looks like we're going to go way beyond that. How do you think that the prize pool should be distributed for TI? Do you think it should be top heavy, or should all the teams that make it get a fair share?
Personally, I always love top heavy. I love it so much. I don't know. It's not good though. It's definitely not good. It's not something that I should like, but I would want first place each person to get $1 million. That's for sure. Okay. So I want that. That's why I wanted last year as well, and I think that actually happened. But I didn't really like the 1 to 8 and then the fucking jump from 9 to 16. I think that was stupid. I think every team deserves to get paid. I think like getting the TI should get you paid, and then not only that, but like you go there and you play like 16 games, you know. So like, those games, like there's no way you play for free. That's just stupid. But yeah, the 9th place to 8th place jump, that was ridiculous. I mean, it ended up benefiting me because I was just 6th place, but I don't really like that. I want something more. Maybe at one point there's a jump, but like it still should be be more linear.
Okay, so there should be something for the lower end teams, but it should still be top heavy enough to really reward you for being a good.
Yeah, well, I don't think the bottom team should get too much. So I think that's ridiculous too. I don't think you should get flown to TI and you get fucking 16th place, and then you're like, oh nice, I got money, a lot of money. Like that's stupid. And yeah.
Okay. So along those lines, we talk about tournaments. Let's talk about something that a lot of folks know about, that you're a little bit famous for, and that is these blogs that you release. In one case, the vlog that I will admit sometimes they come off a bit vitrolic, and I myself at times have been taken aback by some of the statements that have been said. As a result of those blogs, are there any players, organizations, or casters that have sort of developed a tough relationship with?
I think one of the big casters in China doesn't like me because of something to do with iLeague. But I mean, I'm not sure I have anything to do with blogs, so I don't think so. It's just because we stopped playing iLeague or something like that. And I don't even know if that. I haven't even talked to the guy, and he issued an apology letter, so I actually don't know what it means anymore. But this MDL, I realized like blogs are getting to the point where like these MDL guys kept talking about the blog, and they started talking to me a lot more about what happened. Their tournament was good, like how the tournament should change. So I realized like it's actually getting to the point where they look at me and they're like, oh, this guy's gonna write a blog or something like that, and then they start talking to me about it. So yeah, it's getting there. I'm not sure if it's good or bad. I don't think it's necessarily good for me though.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's definitely good for the scene overall, I think.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I have been at events and talked to organizers who say things like, well, we don't want Envy to blog about this, or have made comments that they've learned from your blog. So it's been effective in that capacity. Along those lines, you've sort of been cast in some ways as a little bit of a villain because of that. Does that bother you at all, or do you think that it's important that these things be said and that organizations are called forward for some of the things that were wrong?
Well, it definitely bothers me, right? Especially because a lot of the backlash I get, I find extremely ridiculous. It's like, oh, you're living a good life, and a lot of people want to be like you, so like you have no right to complain. It's like, all right, so I live in Canada, I don't live in Africa, I have no right to complain. I have no right to try to improve my country or something like that.
Right.
That's, I think, there's a lot of logical fallacies in the way they comment about my mistakes, and they don't really, and they never really attack my points. They attack me, or like I'm an animated weebo or something, and then did second place, blah blah blah. They don't really talk about the points itself. And then I have all these like casters or like NS or whatever, like these guys. They come and then they talk about my statements, and then they agree with all my statements.
Yeah.
They actually explicitly say that, but then they still end up bashing me. It's like, what's happening? So obviously I do get upset. I can't. It'll be absolutely ridiculous if I say I don't get upset. But I still like doing it. For me, it's very important that I do these blogs. I tried stopping for this MDL, but I end up doing it anyway. So what happens with me in tournaments is I don't go there and I start fucking complaining about everything. That's not what happens. When I go to a tournament, like I become weird. Like I don't know what's happening anymore. I become strangely confident, or more hyper and stuff like that, and a lot more emotional in a sense. And then I don't really. I focus a lot on the tournament or like other stuff, and I don't really look too much into like the problems in the tournament.
Right.
Till after I go home, I sit down, then I think about things, and I actually learn a lot. So it's quite nice for me to sit down and do this.
Okay. So you expressed frustrations especially in one of the blogs that was probably the most talked about the state of the game, too many tournaments, teams with YOLO attitudes, and casters just generally, for lack of a better word, not giving a shit. Do you feel like that's changed at all in the last couple of months, or do you think it's still pretty much a major issue?
No, I think it actually changed so much recently, but I still think it's a major issue. But things have changed a lot.
Okay.
Noticeably, BTS I think has reacted the best to. I don't want to take credit for this shit. It's like it's their effort.
Right.
It's more like. All I did was write like a blog. Like I wrote a few pages of words, like it's whatever. But I feel like this sparks some interest, and then I think like BTS has done a lot to try to improve, and for me it's been very impressive. And then a lot of other tournaments have slowly improved as well. But I think there's still a lot of ridiculous shit that shouldn't be happening. But. It's whatever. It's okay.
So things have gotten better. They're not where you'd like to see them, but it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah. But like, my perspective is very like idealistic.
Okay.
When it comes to these things, and I don't know like how idealistic am I really though? Like, if I wanted to play on a table that didn't have legs diagonally crossing, blocking me from moving my legs inward, because like if you look at yourself right now, everyone who's listening to this podcast, like when you sit down in your chair, your legs are under the table.
Right.
Like if I'm unable to do that, like can I not blog about that? Like
right.
Is it really wrong to complain? I don't know actually, like because
I think a good example
it's so ridiculous.
I think a good example that you got a lot of backlash on, and people still joke about today, is do the chairs have armrests? And I think that a lot of
that
people
matters so
it
much.
It does though, because if you're going to play Dota for a long period of time, you have to rest your elbows.
You can't just play fucking 10 hours and like not have armrests. It's not a thing. And like it's like playing these tournaments, like these tournaments are sponsored by Need for Seaters. They don't have Need for Seat chairs. Like what's happening? And like DSC was sponsored by Need for Seat, I think. And like why I don't know. I don't know why people would even like joke about that. Like they're not playing professionally. It's very different when you play professionally than when you just play for lows. Like if I go to a LAN center and I just play with my friends and I don't have an armrest on my chair, I'd say, okay, who gives a fuck? But when you're playing for hundreds of thousands of dollars, like is it too hard for me to get like chairs that have armrests?
Did the Mars Dota 2 League, did the LAN have armrests on their chairs?
Yes, every chair.
Good.
Every single fucking chair actually is actually insane. Not even TI had that.
Nice.
Like, TI did not have those chairs. Like TI actually had like these fucking hotel like dinner chairs that had no armrest either. Till the main, I mean, except for the main games. But Mars TV actually had like their own private booths, and then they had fucking Need for Speed chair for like everything. Every computer basically had a chair. That was pretty sick. And then, but they saw the table issue, but it wasn't the same as the DAC one because it wasn't diagonal. It was like vertical, so you could like wrap your legs around it. Basically, you can still do something.
Okay.
You can still yeah.
So along the topic of the chairs, and we talk a lot about sort of some of the backlash that came from the blogs. I'd like to give you a chance to maybe address some of the hate that gets sent in your direction, things that are popular to spam during games, etc. And I want to know, how do you feel about the stigma that C9 and yourself to a certain extent, according to the trolls, seems to choke under pressure routinely? I'm not saying it's true, but it seems like a pretty popular criticism of C9. Do you think that it's true, or do you think that it's just a misconception about playstyle?
I don't necessarily. I mean, it's definitely true, but I think it's something that's true for every team, to some extent. And I don't know if it's. I think it's true in the sense that some VGs, some EGs, these teams. Nowadays, even Seeker. Back then they were choking like crazy, but like RTZ doesn't. But like these teams that win tournaments, they don't really choke to the same extent that C9 does. I don't think C9 chokes though, the same way other teams would do. Because if you look at history, like C9 has always been like a LAN team, and LAN is where the pressure comes in and where people choke. And we've always got second place, which is, I mean, I don't know, it's like kind of okay, whatever. But like we always step it up during LANs. Like we would lose online like crazy, then we would go to LAN and all of a sudden we're like winning again. So to say that we're choking is ridiculous because the teams we play online, those teams are choking when they meet us online. Those are the teams that are choking. When like playing against Empire, like when we played them in best of fives and like third place decider, I mean third place matches, like semifinals basically, like we always win. So like you can say they're choking because they will beat us in the like best of ones or best of twos earlier on in the stage. I mean Empire right now is different though than the previous Empire, but like so now I think we are chokers, but it's not the same extent as people would say.
Right.
Because we end up stepping up like crazy when we play on lands.
Okay. And here's the other big one that we see all the time that's constantly spammed. We even saw it in chat here on the show for a few seconds. Is either the REE-tard or they spam autistic, which, as somebody who's worked with in a special needs training environment, gets under my skin in the first place. But I want to know, does that harassment, does referring to you as autistic bother you at all, or do the trolls just kind of roll off? It kind of
does. Well, the retard one doesn't really bother me. I think that's funny actually, but the autistic one it does. I don't know. I never. Maybe it wasn't targeted towards me. I would have a different feeling towards it, but I don't think so. I think that word is not funny. That word just not funny. Like, like it's not funny. Like you see feed, like that's funny. Like, autistic is not a funny word. Like I don't. It doesn't sound funny. When I imagine autism, like it's not really funny. I don't know. Like.
All right. So it bothers you in the sense of it's disrespectful to a large group of people and shouldn't be used, not that it bothers you that they're insulting you.
No, I don't really think too hard about it. Just I look at the word and I'm like, come on, dude, like you can do better than this. This is not legit.
That's fair.
I just get. It's not about like them dissing the bigger pool of people. It's more about. I mean, that's awful for me, right? But it's more about. I look at this word, and whoever's typing this word, like, that guy's an idiot. I feel a little sad for him. And I just lose faith in humanity that they use this word. It's like, fuck this guy.
All right, I like that. I like that. I like that you also laugh about the feed and things like that are fun and entertaining. So let me ask you this, as we sort of come to the end of the formalized interview portion. Life after Dota, is there a backup plan? Is there a backup, or is Dota your retirement plan?
No, there's no backup plan, dude.
I love it.
It's like I think people are not understanding how reality works nowadays. Like, I mean, it's funny because it comes from someone who's autistic, but like, holy shit, like the way the world works nowadays. Like people, like back then, people would work for the same company till death. Like they would, they'll finish university if they did, or maybe they don't finish university, they do something else, and then. I mean, most people don't have degrees back then, so they would do the same. They would work for the same company for fucking ever. But nowadays, it's not like that anymore. Like, when you're doing something high end, like engineering or whatever, like people quit their job. I mean, they don't quit their job, but they go to a different company. Like, they work for Apple, then they're like, fuck Apple, I'm working for Microsoft now. Fuck Microsoft, I'm working for Google. And I'm working for Artour now. And they just keep jumping companies. And for the most part, a lot of people are unhappy with their, with their work or whatever, and then they just change it up. So it's not the same as before, and it's kind of stupid for you to plan something that's like 5 years ahead. I have no fucking idea what I'm gonna do 5 years ahead. I could be a league player. I don't even know what the hell I could do. But for me though, I think like, I should just focus on Dota, and then like whatever happens from Dota. If I don't do anything extremely bad in the scene, like I feel like I'll have something for me, like even if I'm not a player after Dota, like in some sort of gaming related.
So esports is sort of the big plan, essentially, in the long run.
Probably. I mean, I would like to help out with esports. I think I could do stuff if I wasn't a Dota player.
Okay. So before we go to, I want to do a Reddit lightning round in just a minute, where we just burn through some questions that fans really want to hear answered. Before we do that, I want to address something that came out just recently, and it was Kuroki made a comment from the perspective of Team Secret that what teams are doing is, and these are his words, just a scam when it comes to taking cuts from players' winnings. I want to know, as somebody who plays for a team, do you think that statement by Kuroki is a fair statement?
It's hard to call it a fair statement because it depends on the team.
Okay.
I mean, it depends on the team, like organization by organization basis. But I could strongly see where he's coming from when he says something like that. As someone's old school, and who's played with Puppy, and like who's also old school. Like I can see why they played for these organizations, and these organizations, they don't really tell you how much money they're making from these sponsors. So you're kind of in the dark, and then you kind of negotiate your contract or whatever, and these guys you respect a lot,
right,
like Zero Gravity or whatever, and you respect them. I mean, I'm just gonna flame him, actually, fuck it. So they play for Navi, and then the Zero Gravity guy, like it's like he gets a lot of money from Navi, from Dota. At least back then, I don't know anymore, but they have Dendi, fucking the face of the game, stuff like that, and he gets a lot of deals from sponsors, but he's the manager, he's part of the management. He doesn't need to tell the players like what these deals are. Right. And then all of a sudden, this like Navi wins a championship, they win TI, or they got second place next TI, and then they're like, these guys are little kids, they don't know what the fuck they want. So then they re-sign a contract, and they're like, yo, how about give us $500 more than before per month? That's like, and then Zero Gravity is like, yeah, sure, why not? I'm making fucking hundreds of thousands now, like, or
right.
I don't know how much he can make millions, like it's like not millions, but like like 1 million. But then he doesn't tell anyone anything. These little kids, who you're kind of like their dad in a sense, and then you kind of just lose faith in these people, and then all of a sudden, next time you do negotiations, you're still in the dark because they're not obligated to tell you shit, and then you're kind of second guessing yourself, guessing what's happening. You don't know what's happening. It's no longer it doesn't feel as right, and a lot of I dealt with like Marco Fernandez and shit. So that was fucking awful. I'm not sure you heard about that.
I didn't.
That was awful. It's too long of a story to explain. And then these people exist everywhere. There are so many like garbage managers who get fired all the time, and then there's like so many useless people that are in the shady people in the scene, and and I'm talking from like a very high up standpoint. Like a lot of the lower teams are getting fucked so much harder. I think Russia's actually behind. I think they're getting fucked all the time actually, but I can't say for sure because I don't know too much. But I can see from talking to them a little bit that like they don't know they're getting fucked, but I know they're getting fucked. And a lot of teams they used to be getting fucked, but it's been getting better. It's just back then,
So it's improved. It's just back then. It was back then. It was a bunch of kids who wanted to play Dota.
I mean, it still is.
Right.
It's just now there are people that are specific players that are more educated, and those players are able to talk to these other younger players and tell them like, you're getting fucked. You stop getting fucked.
Awesome. So I'm glad that it's improving. It's good to hear. As we wrap up, I do want to run through some Reddit questions. We said we put them on. We don't have a ton of time left, so we'll kind of go rapidly through them. But I do want to get your opinions on some of the top ones. So Dr. Heckle on Reddit asks, what do you think in the break-in strategies between regions? So he said basically in North America, it seems like house recognition, like through IXDL, has produced big players, like Arteezy or Sumail. In EU, it's more or less slogging through open tournaments, like Starladder and DreamHack with a pre-made stack. And in China, it's through development teams like VG Potential and Tong Fu's underling teams. Is that a difference in culture? And which way do you think is the best way?
I'm not sure. Every way has its own benefits.
Okay.
Like, I mean, the NA way sucks because, I mean, the thing with NA is that, like, because those teams suck in general, they don't really want to play each other because they all suck, and they don't learn anything from each other. So they want to play teams from Europe, basically. And then there's a ping, and then there's, like, the time issue, like, where, you know, Europeans play at nighttime so they can come home from school and they can develop their Dota that way, but the NA players have to quit school and stuff to start learning. So it's, or quit jobs or whatever, so it's much harder for an NA. So that sucks for them. And then Europe is nice, I think. You know, they can scrim each other, they can play FPL and stuff, so it's quite nice for them right now.
Right.
And they can YOLO, they can make their own team, they can do whatever. And then when it comes to China, I'm not sure if the China way is better than Europe way. I think it has its own sides to it, because I feel like it's kind of more cool when you're in, like, you know, VPG potential or whatever.
Right.
But it's not, they don't really have as much freedom, I guess, because there's like ACE and stuff, and like they have to like kind of go for ACE to like play tournaments, and like it's not as free. You can't just make a team and like join tournaments the same way, I feel, as you could in Europe. Like back then when I played on NTX, for example, I just stormed out of the scene just by I made a team,
Right.
you know, and we were good, so we won and we got some stuff. And I don't know if you can really do that in China. But at the same time, China, I feel like these VG potentials and stuff, these players probably get paid enough money to,
Sure.
you know, so it's different.
So do you think, in the North American scene, or the American scene in general, do you think that it would help the scene grow significantly to see a team like Cloud 18, an up-and-coming, like a next Cloud 9 sort of thing?
Cloud 18. No, no, I don't think so. I think these teams need too many roster changes for it to be
I see what you're saying.
legit, and I don't really believe in Tier 2 teams not getting roster changes. Like, for me, it's quite obvious. If a T2 team does not plays at a Tier 2 level, if that team plays for another year, they're still going to be a Tier 2 team. These teams need to recognize that.
Okay. Here's another question that was really popular. I don't normally ask theory questions because I'm not great at it, but more importantly, I feel like I want to get to know the players. But this one was so insanely upvoted on Reddit that I feel like I have to ask you, and it is this: Gone Wild Mile brought it up in Game 2 versus Secret in the MDL. If you played it over again, do you think you'd go for bots level 2 into Diffuser?
How
2?
no?
No.
How no? I think that game, I pretty much lost the game alone. Well, actually, that's not true, but I wonder what would happen if I just bought proper items. Because we didn't buy a mech, so that was super bad. We didn't have a mech. What should have happened that game was someone should have bought mech, and I should have bought drums, and probably treads, and then we just push towers, and we kill them over and over again while pushing their towers. But and we probably would have won. We actually outdrafted them like crazy, I think, game 2. But what ended up happening is because we were kind of on a roll, and I kind of kept that roll going. Like we had Tuskar, he bought Blink Dagger, and I bought split push items. I wanted to keep the split push and the kill happening. But then all of a sudden, I bought my level 2 travels, right?
Yeah.
At the very moment I bought my level 2 travels, I said this. I was like, guys, watch out for the Blink Darkster into Queen of Pain ulti. Then I click on Darkster, and I see that he does not have a blink. He has this green item called Pipe. And the very moment I saw that pipe, I was like thinking to myself, we actually lost.
Wow.
And it was like fucking 12 minutes in or something. And I was like, we actually can't win when I saw that pipe. Like, what happened when they have pipe and mech is they're just gonna 5-man. They're just gonna push towers. And we actually can't do shit to them. And we can't split push fast enough to actually, like, do anything to them. So it was actually fucking GG right there. We couldn't fight them anymore. We have no mech. They have a mech. They have a pipe. And then, yeah, we're fucked.
That's so answered everybody's question on Reddit. Would not do it again.
Nope.
And at least that's good. It's good you're honest about that. Verbal asked this. You made a comment a while back. I'll pull it up and read it about Koreans playing Dota. If Koreans take this game seriously, we don't stand a chance. But in a year or two from now, we could be in some serious trouble if they get heavily into Dota. Now, you do still believe that? So considering the fact that MVP Phoenix, Hot 6, and I guess theoretically if you count Rave,
you need League to die.
Okay.
Like, you need there to be like some massive fucking scandal in League, like some like all the money in League was fake. Every dollar that was ever used in League for some reason, even though it was online, like paid or something, everything has to be fake. League has to like fucking burn in a fire. Riot Riot, there has to be like some random shit that happened in Riot. All of a sudden, the Riot is done, and no one else wants to take up League.
Nice.
And if those players come to Dota, then maybe we're in trouble in 2 years.
All right, so you stand by that statement that if they leave League, we could be in some trouble. That's funny.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. What do you have any thoughts on what heroes or items will dominate the TI5 meta? Are you allowed to talk about them, or are they all secret?
I can't talk about that.
I didn't think so. I figured I'd ask just in case. Here's an interesting one. Quintex1994 wants to know this, and a lot of folks want to get your opinion. In your recommendation for an average Dota player who wants to become a good one, not a pro, just an average player moving to the next level, what would you say to them to make them better?
Well, that doesn't mean anything to me. It depends on your MMR. But like for me, I've always strongly believed that if you want to improve, you will improve.
Okay.
And that's it.
So when you made the trend, when you started to find yourself getting better and better at Dota, what were specific things you did to improve? Was it watching replays? Was it focusing on certain things during matches? Did you take notes? What was your process?
Well, back then I just needed to play a lot, and I would say I was talented enough to just pick up things as I played really fast. And then, but you get to a point where like right now I don't learn much in pubs. I learn heroes, but I no longer learn concepts like I would. And sometimes you struggle because this one concept can win you Dota. And then like last time I actually learned the concept, so it's really big for me. Hopefully that concept brings me far. I think I will. But usually these concepts don't come by. Like it takes me months to learn one concept. Like usually you learn like these very small like tricks, but those aren't game breaking concepts. And sometimes just missing this one concept is like the definement between you being a tier 2 player and tier 1 player. Like for example, a lot of mid players in Dota don't buy TP scrolls, like when they're level 6, so they're shit players. But if they did that one thing, they would actually become pretty good players. Like 6k MMR players, like these selfish 6k MMR players, they don't buy TPs when they're level 6 mid. Stuff like that can severely, like, that concept alone can severely change. Like how, like you look at your lane and you're like, okay, I'm trying to win mid lane. I'm trying to win mid lane. I'm winning mid lane. I'm winning mid lane. I'm a good player. I'm winning mid lane. But all of a sudden, you buy this one TP scroll and you realize like, I'm winning mid lane, but I'm also winning every other lane, because if they try to gank the other lanes, I can TP there and fuck them. Right. So I'm winning every lane now. So this one, like, that's how you see it. It's not about buying a TP, it's about how you see what this TP does. And there's a lot of other concepts you can learn in Dota that can severely change the way you think about the game. Okay. When you're a top player, but when you're an average player, it's not true anymore. It's like,
all right.
Average player, you just play a lot and you'll learn if you're smart.
So go until you get to the point, until you get to the top. Tez2 asks, how has Dota changed your life? Not in terms of money and fame, but in terms of your personality and like yourself. How has Dota changed you?
Well, I was always a very shy person. I wouldn't be able to talk on stage and stuff like that. And to this day, I'm probably still kind of like that. But it's kind of changed. Like I can actually talk to like a large group of fans and not like be too phased by it.
Yes,
like,
I saw the picture. I think it was an Anime Con or something where they were bowing to you in the yard.
Yeah, people can actually like ask me like very ridiculous things, and I can react perfectly to it. Like if like girls came up to me and asked me to sign their boob or something, like I wouldn't be phased at all. Like stuff like that. Yeah, I've become more confident, I guess, for the most part. I'm still like kind of the same person, so under some circumstances, I still go back to being super shy and weird.
Okay. So I think the important question is, do you get more dates now that you're a pro Dota player than you did before?
Dates? What's that?
Or hookups, or however you want to play that. Do you get more ladies?
I think I could, but no, I haven't really pursued. I know some players have pursued that, and it's been working out for them.
It's been working out for them.
Yeah, it has. And but I haven't looked into that too much.
Okay. Enjoying the fame and focusing on the esport. I dig that.
There's been some after parties where like girls are like asking me to, like drink with them later on night or something, or if I'm free at night or something. But I haven't done anything. I'll just say like, no, it's okay, like whatever.
Okay, all right, I respect that. Last one from Reddit is Monopol asks, what is the best way to deal with tilting? What's the best way to deal with tilting after a bad game?
After a bad game or in the game?
Let's actually both. Let's start with in the game. When you know things are starting to fall apart, what's the best way to deal with the tilt?
In the game. Well, you can pause. Like
Okay.
you can't really do that in official. So in a public game, you just pause. I mean, there's gonna pause you in 2 seconds. Actually, that's not gonna work. You can flame your teammates. No, you can't do shit. You just have to. Like the best way is just to start laughing.
Okay.
Like personally, I have 2 ways of doing it. Like one way is I just start laughing at my mistake and I tell myself to play better. Or the other option is I just get really mad at myself for playing really bad, and I get really focused for the future of that game. But the best way for after game is just go take a walk outside or so.
Just take a walk and let it get past you.
Look at the. I like taking walks at night when bad things happen. I look at the moon. I tell myself I fucked up.
But there's no vitamin D when you take walks at night.
Yeah, there actually isn't. But I go out in the morning to get food now and stuff. And, yeah.
Awesome. All right, well, that's about the time that we have for the show tonight. But before we sign out, I want to say thank you for being here. Do you have any last thoughts or shout-outs or call-outs or anything else that you feel like we need to talk about?
Not really, no. Fuck RTZ, I guess.
Fuck RTZ, okay. So we're...
Yeah, he actually, if you look at his AskFM, there's been like 4 or 5 questions that are asked about me. Like, what do you think about me or EternalEnvy or something? And then he just says, his answer for every question was literally Jackie Mao. And that was it. Like, what do you think about Jackie Mao? His answer was Jackie Mao.
Yeah.
Can you describe Jackie Mao? And they'll be like, Jackie Mao. I found it so fucking funny, actually.
Nice. Well, he's he is known for the things that he posts and how entertaining they can be. So I wasn't surprised to see that in the Ask FM stuff. But we appreciate you being here, guys. To those of you who are watching and listening on the podcast and the YouTube and all the other places that the show is available, we really appreciate you being here. If you do want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/Toffees and choose to support however you like. We're also going to be selling some hats and other things real soon on the website to help keep the show going. That said, it is 90% done that I will be moving this month, so if that happens, you're going to see a few less shows going on. Upside, the new place will have a studio, or I'm converting a studio in the new house, so we'll have a higher quality of everything, hopefully, for the show and take it to the next level. I appreciate you guys watching. Once again, EternalEnvy, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate you stopping by. And guys, have a wonderful night. Thanks, as always. Toffees out.
Okay. Alright.
And
That was 9 minutes, holy shit.
say what?
Was it 9 minutes? No, it wasn't.
It was an hour and 17, so it was
Yeah, we lost.
70 minutes. No, so I can sell a 70-minute show. That's fine. But awesome. I'm going to cut the stream, guys, since we just wrapped out. Thanks for watching. And the show will be on YouTube by tonight. The podcast will be pushed out tomorrow morning. And if you guys like the show, make sure you follow me on Twitter or make sure you follow the channel, because the more follows we get, the more chance we have of sponsors and the more content we can create for you, because I don't make the money that Jackie does playing Dota.
I am rich.
Yeah, well, compared to what I make in Dota, you are, sir.